Good evening, and you're very welcome back to Around the Grounds here at Finalwhistle.ie. Another Friday with jam-packed with action in both the Premier and the First Division. It's the First Division where we will begin our coverage tonight, and we'll go up to Lissywollen, where Athlone Town were in action tonight against Bray Wanderers. And reporting from the Athlone Town Stadium is Sean Comer.
Yeah, Diarmuid, full time at Lissywollen between Athlone Town and Bray Wanderers. And Bray Wanderers have their first win in 6 games with a 2-1 win over the host tonight. I do think Athlone were quite dominant in the first half, and they showed this just 7 minutes in. When Adam Lennon, who's back at the club after a spell at UCD, cut inside onto his left foot, just kind of skewered it, however, with that weak foot of his, and sent it well wide. I suppose Bray had their best chance of the first half just 4 minutes later when Paul Fox got a good run through on goal, but Oisin Duffy from the Athlone right back position showed great pace to catch up and catch him and eventually block that his eventual effort. A bit of link-up play happened for Athlone in the 25th minute where Lennon got the ball on the right-hand side again and squared it across to Glenn McCauley in the area, but Dan Blackburn got a good lock-in for the visitors. 33 in the 33rd minute, Thomas Lua probably should have put Athlone 1-0 up. He was played through on goal, and his penultimate touch as he was about to take the shot was quite poor, so it was an easy save for Stephen McGuinness in the end. He just came out, got down low and saved it. More Lennon and McCauley link up, I suppose, in the 39th minute when, it was Lennon who muscled McManus off the ball from the left back position. He again cut onto his left foot, but only found the side net, again missing. And then, I suppose, in the 41st minute, Athlone should have had a penalty. McCauley's shirt was dragged about twice. He didn't go down, however, so the ref gave no penalty. From this, Gary Armstrong would pick up a loose ball. He had an audacious curled effort, then hit the bar. Half-time came and went, and I suppose Bray sucker punched Athlone straight out. Curtis Byrne, the former Athlone player, came back to haunt his former side today, and on the left-hand side, he sent a sweet right-footed curl into the box, and Ben Feeney got into the end of that with a header to make it 1-0 to Bray. But Athlone responded well. McCauley whipped in a free in the 51st minute to Aaron McBride. He got a flake, which was saved by McGuinness, but he followed up on the rebound to put it in. But in the 59th minute, Bray again responded well. Curtis Byrne was played through, slipped it by the keeper to make it 2-1. And Bray never looked back. They never conceded again. Athlone would have a few chances, I suppose, in the 74th minute. It set up for McCauley on the edge of the area, but he fired an effort straight at McGuinness. And then in the 77th minute, Aaron Connolly, sent an absolutely sweet right-footed cross to the back post for Glenn McCauley for the header. He got up, but just couldn't keep it down, missing the chance to equalise. I suppose in the 89th minute, it could have been a controversial moment when Colin Kelly was fouled, I think in the Athlone box, but kind of like the McCauley decision in the first half. No penalty was given by the ref, which was a slightly controversial one, but Bray won't care. They come away with a 2-1 win and their first win in 6 games.
And then, of course, there's Sean Comer reporting from Athlone this evening. Apologies for some slight interference anyway in Sean's report. Next, we go to the Loud Derby up at Head in the Game Park. Drogheda United at home to Dundalk. And reporting from Drogheda this evening is Kieran Callan.
Well, Drogheda United have the bragging rights once again when it comes to the Loud Derby. A 1-0 win here for Drogheda United, which all really would secure Drogheda United's position in the Premier Division for next season, considering the early forecast for this season that they would be really, really struggling. They really have come on pigs and troughs. But it's a game like this here today that Drogheda United needed the win, but more importantly, Dundalk needed this win because this was one of their 2 games in hand when they wanted to compete with Shamrock Rovers at the top of the table, but that wasn't to be the case. Drogheda came out very, very early in the traps and got a goal after 2 minutes. A cross that came into the area was knocked down by Andy Boyle, and Dean Williams was on hand to latch on to the loose ball from the knockdown inside the area. He turned on his sixpence and hit an absolutely fantastic strike that nestled into the top right hand of the corner. Dundalk huffed and puffed and couldn't blow down this very, very well organised Drogheda United side, but they did have their chances. Both Dave McMillan and Joe Adams had really good opportunities in quick succession. However, they couldn't latch on to either opportunity. Dave McMillan also had a header from a Dara Leahy free kick that went over the bar. And in reality, that's what it came to. Like, we went through the statistics, just myself and James Rogers from the Dundalk Argus here. It looks as if Dundalk had literally tested the goalkeeper twice in the space of 90 minutes for a side like Dundalk. That really isn't good enough if they're going to be mounting any kind of big challenge. So However, this game was mounted by something that was another big statistic, was that there was something between 11 to 12 fouls committed in the first half, but there was between 6 to 7 yellow cards. Like, in reality, there wasn't even a very harsh or dirty challenge in this game. It was just Neil Doyle felt that he needed to do it to calm things down, because this was a game that was played at a horrifically frantic pace for long periods of time. But there was a period in the first half where it looked like it could have went 2-0 to Drogheda, and within 30 seconds it could have been 1-1. Basically, what happened was that a cross came in and Dean Williams didn't latch onto the cross. Dundalk picked up the loose ball. They broke straight down, and a cross that came in from the right could have been met by Robbie Benson at the back post. However, he fluffed his line, so to speak, and the score remained 1-0. The second half was a little bit calmer. However, Drogheda United did get out of the traps early and test Nathan Shepherd once again. The best of those was once again Williams, who has haunted Dundalk an awful lot this season. He found himself one-on-one with the goalkeeper. However, Nathan Shepherd did extremely well to save the effort. Dundalk did have chances and they kept breaking, and they reverted to a back three. This gave a little bit of width to the Dundalk midfield, and Daniel Kelly latched on to a very, very clever pass. He found himself that he could have made the run a little bit further in on Colin McCabe. However, he opted for a long-range effort, and McCabe saved it really, really well. Apart from that, Dundalk, they had chances, but really, they could have been here to St. Swithin's Day and they weren't going to put the ball in the back of the net. It was just a very, very frustrating night. But that's one out of the 2 games that Dundalk had in hand to try and keep pace with the summit of the league, that unfortunately they didn't get the full complement. It's results like this and say the results against Shelbourne that at the end of the season, Stephen O'Donnell and his Chargers are going to be ruining.
That, of course, was Kieran Callan reporting on the Louth derby this evening. Moving back to the First Division, Treaty United were back at the Markets Field. They took on Longford Town this evening, and reporting in Shannon's side is Tom Clancy.
Yes, good evening, Diarmuid. And the Markets Field has just emptied out following Treaty United's 3-0 victory here over Longford Town. Longford Town came into this game in 4th position, 2 places above Treaty United, and that's the way it remains, though the gap now has been cut by 3 points. To 3 points, just to say. Treaty, they enjoyed the large share of the opportunities in the first half, but they came through. Willie Armshaw, he had a couple of efforts in the first half, but nothing to really worry the Longford Town goalkeeper Luke Dennison. And the game exploded into life in the 56th minute when Armshaw weaved his little bit of magic from the left wing and was fouled for the game's first penalty, the first of 2 that Treaty were awarded in the second half. That penalty was taken by fullback Mark Ludden. He sent Dennison down to his left. Dennison got close, but the ball found its way to the back of the net, and cue a rapturous celebration here at the Markets Field. They doubled their tally very soon after when another penalty was awarded. Was Sam Verdon fouled Enda Kern. Verdon pushing Kern out of the way when the ball was being cut back, and referee Ray Matthews decided that was enough to be deemed a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity, and Verdon, who was on the pitch for just 4 minutes, was dismissed, and a second penalty awarded to the host. That penalty taken by Kern, who himself had come on from the bench, and he let Mark Ludden past him the penalty taking duties, and despite a hand from Dennison, the ball went into the net for 2-0, and Longford were left with a mountain to climb, given that they were down to 10 men for the last 25 minutes. The third and clinching goal came from the head of Enda Kern, and it was those 2 men, Mark Ludden and Enda Kern, who combined for this one. The 2 previous goal scorers, it was Ludden who received the ball just outside the area, dummying a shot. He took the ball down the wing, whipped it across to the back stick, and the 2 former Galway United men combined as Kern headed in past Dennison for 3-0. It was a really, really disappointing evening for the visitors. They just really didn't get going, and the loss of Verdon, of course, will hurt them in games to come. Treaty, though, they've back-to-back victories now secured following a 5-0 defeat here the last time against Cork City. They've now gone to Cove and won 2-0 and won 3-0 here this evening. So not alone have they rescued some points, they've also improved their goal difference following that Munster Derby reversal here just 10 days ago. And I did speak to Tommy Bard after that game. He was reassuring me there was no need for panic, and in fairness to him and his charges, they've backed that up with 2 fine victories and 6 points. And some transfer news coming out of Treaty this evening is that Success Edegun from Athlone Town is set to be unveiled very, very shortly as a new attacker for Treaty United. They have lacked a little bit of goal threat at times this season. Of course, they had previously drawn 2 games 0-0 with Longford Town, and they previously drawn a total of 5 games 0-0 this season. So lacking a little bit in the the firepower department. But Success Idegun, a man who has featured here at the Marketsfield for Athlone Town already this season, will be joining the ranks in the coming weeks. And Success himself will be hoping that his new side, can continue their rich vein of form into the coming weeks. But Treaty remain outside of the promotion playoff positions because their goal difference is a little bit worse off than Wexford. And they're right on the heels now of Longford Town, 3 points separating those three sides in the middle of the table. So full time here from the Marketsfield has ended. Treaty United 3, Longford Town 0.
And that, of course, was Tom Clancy down on Shannon's side for Final Whistle this evening. We'll stay with the First Division and go over to the game at Eamon DC Park, where Galway were in action against Cove Ramblers. Watching the action for us was John Nee.
Thanks, Diarmuid. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange start to the game. Cove Ramblers came out the better of the two sides for the opening 10, 15, even you could say the first 20 minutes. But their finishing and final ball let them down. They had around 4 or 5 corners in the opening 10 minutes, all being overshot or going straight out of play. One of them was really poor from them. They lacked that kind of attacking intent, and Galway just were very slow to get into the game, and Cove didn't make the best of their opportunities. Half an hour into the game, Edward McCarthy showed Cove how to cross the ball, and he laid it on play for Stephen Walsh, who bagged his 11th goal of the season, scoring from around inside the 6-yard box. Debutant in goal, Dara Burke for Cove could be disappointed for conceding the goal. It was very close to him, but it was at a good height, and it seemingly just went straight through his hands into the back of the net. So Galway went 1-0 up just on the half an hour mark. From there, Galway seemed to be in control. Cove didn't really make anything else in terms of chances. And Galway went in at halftime 1-0 up and in cruise control. In the second half, same as Galway came out with a bit more intent in the early stages of the second half, and they introduced a good few substitutions. There was a debutant off the bench, Robert Manley, who came in up front for Francie Lombato, and he wasn't on the pitch only 10 minutes when he doubled Galway's lead. A brilliant cross from the outgoing Alex Murphy, who's making his way to Newcastle on the weekend. He'd put in a lovely ball that met Roberts' head at the back post and put Galway 2-0, and that was really the game done and dusted. You couldn't see Cove getting back into it at this stage. Very late on, we seen Stephen Walsh get his second goal of the game and his 12th of the season, again following a shot from Rob Manley, who tested the keeper well, but the keeper spilled it into his 6-yard box, and Walsh was rewarded for his tenacity just to tap it home. Galway 3-0 up and 82 minutes on the clock, and Galway seen out a nice and comfortable 3-0 win in Eamon DC Park and keeping the pressure at the top of the table.
And that, of course, was John Nee's report from Galway's big 3-0 result tonight. Staying with First Division action, there was another derby, of course, this time coming from the southeast, where Waterford were hosting Wexford in the RSC. Reporting on the tie is Denise O'Flaherty.
Yeah, and it finished at the RSC, Waterford 1, Wexford 3, and second half goals from Thomas Considine, Aaron Dobbs and Conor Barry saw Wexford record their first win over the Blues in 7 years, and they are now 7 games unbeaten. Waterford manager Danny Searle won't be happy with the defending from his side for the 3 goals, as the Blues fell to a second defeat in a row, and they have now lost ground on the top 2 and are 11 points behind leaders Cork City. Phoenix Patterson was very much prominent in the opening quarter. He got down the wing a number of times and put in dangerous balls into the box. In the 9th minute, he got down to the end line, put the ball into Junior, but it somehow got caught under his legs. Considine put the ball into the box for Wexford in the 14th minute, but it was put out for a corner by Sabuala. Minutes later, Considine's header was cut out. The best chance of the half came to Shane Griffin in the 26th minute. His fine strike came off the crossbar with Alex Moody in the Wexford goals beaten. Just before the break, Waterford had a glorious chance to take the lead. Junior with the pass to Patterson, but his shot was excellently saved by Moody. The loose ball fell to new signing Wazim Ouashiri. but he blasted the ball over the bar. 5 minutes into the second half, and Wexford took the lead. Conor Barry took a quick throw into Dobbs. His shot was parried by Brian Murphy. It fell into the path of Constantine, and he made no mistake. Minutes later, and Dobbs scored his third goal in 3 games when he finished to the net in a bit of a scramble. And in the 71st minute, Barry got a third for Ian Ryan's side. Griffin did pull a goal back for the home side in the 81st minute, but there was no dramatic comeback, and it ended at the RSC, Waterford 1, Wexford 3.
And thank you, Denise, as always, for that report. The final game of this evening's action comes from Tolka Park, the second of the Premier Division games down for decision tonight, and that was Shelbourne taking on Finn Harps. Reporting is Jack Joy.
Yeah, Diarmuid, it was Shelbourne 3, Finn Harps 1 at Tolka Park. Shelbourne finally getting a win over the Donegal side after being defeated on 2 previous attempts this season already. The opening exchanges were fairly timid, no huge chances. Jack Moylan had a shot go wide for Shelbourne, while Barry McNamee blazed over for Finn Harps at the other end soon after. On 13 minutes, Shelbourne took the lead from a corner. Shane Farrell sent an excellent delivery into the box, and Gavin Malloy headed in past Gavin Mulroney into Finn Harps' goal to open scoring. Finn Harps fought back though, and from their own set piece, Regan Donlan sent the ball into the Shelbourne area, and Ethan Boyle got in between 2 Shelbourne defenders to head in an equaliser. Shelbourne would go into half-time ahead though. Gavin Malloy with a second goal. Some excellent work down the left wing saw Jad Hakiki on the ball in the Finn Harps area, and he used his footwork to find Gavin Malloy on the edge of the box, and Malloy struck past Mulroney to make it 2-1 to Shelbourne before half-time. The Reds really continued that momentum after half-time. Finn Harps didn't really get a sniff. Some excellent passing movements all half by Shelbourne. They really opened Finn Harps on a number of occasions. But Sean Boyd, Jack Moylan all had attempts on goal, but couldn't get past Mulroney until the 74th minute when Shane Farrell sent Jack Moylan in on goal, and he put it past Mulroney in the 74th minute. That really secured the 3 points for Shelbourne, and Finn Harps didn't offer much from that point on. So it ended Shelbourne 3, Finn Harps 1 at Tolka Park this evening.
And thank you, Jack, for that report. And that will conclude all of our live reports from all of those games tonight. We'll take a look at the results, of course, coming from the 2 divisions. Very few games, of course, down for decision in the Premier Division, but just the 2 games to report on this evening. Shelbourne picking up a big 3-1 win, as Jack has just mentioned there. And of course, Drogheda taking home the bragging rights from the derby, the Louth derby against Dundalk. Not the result that Dundalk would have wanted, especially when they had those games in hand over Shamrock Rovers. And in the first division, Wexford picking up a big 3-1 win over Waterford. A massive result to aid their promotion chances, especially with Treaty United picking up, I suppose, more of a surprising result against Longford Town, it has to be said. Galway's 3-0 win, of course, means that they are just 1 point now behind Cork City in the league table, and Athlone Town couldn't get a result tonight. They were pipped by Bray Wanderers 2-1 in that game. We'll look at the league table, of course, and we'll see what way it's looking on this Friday evening, starting, of course, with the league table from the SSE Airtricity Premier Division. And Shamrock Rovers' lead remains at 10 points. But Derry City are now just 1 point behind Dundalk. Of course, Derry and Shamrock Rovers were not playing this week, as were Sligo Rovers due to European commitments. But the league table doesn't look too well changed. But of course, Finn Harps now have a little bit of a gap over UCD in the automatic relegation spot. We look at the statistics as well, starting with the top goal scorer from that division. And despite not playing this week, it was Aidan Keena, who remains the league's top goal scorer with 11 goals so far this season. Jamie McGonigal with 10 just behind him, and then Owen Doyle and Will Patching on 9 are the chasing pack. And with the goalkeeping statistics as well from that division, it is Joseph Anang who is remaining the top goalkeeper, of course, in that division. He is providing the shutout so far this season, just ahead of Dundalk's Nathan Shepherd, unable to get a clean sheet this evening and join Anang on 10 so far. But Alan Manis and Brian Maher, of course, are chasing there as well with 8 and 7 respectively. Looking at the League of Ireland First Division table as well, Cork City's lead, as I mentioned, is down to 1 point. But of course, Cork City do have the game in hand, and there is a big game, of course, down at Turner's Cross next week between Cork and Galway. and Wexford have definitely somehow they have managed to keep on to the final promotion spot by virtue of goal difference. But it's interesting to see how them and Treaty will look over the next few weeks. Looking at the statistics from that division as well, starting with the top goal scorers from that division. And it remains Phoenix Patterson that is the top goal scorer, but he is now tied with Stephen Walsh. Walsh, of course, netting twice this evening for Galway. He is now joining Patterson, a tie there on 12. Lewis Britton has 10 to his name, while Rory Keating and Aaron Dobbs and Enda Curran are all tied on 8. Of course, Dobbs and Curran also getting on the score sheet this evening. Looking at the goalkeeping stats as well, very few shutouts, of course, coming across the division this evening. Conor Kearns of Galway managed to keep one. He's on 8. David Harrington remains, of course, atop with 10. Brian Murphy on 7. And Jack Brady, who got one this evening, of course, is on 6. So that concludes all of the league statistics as well. Looking ahead, we have a bumper round of fixtures coming up over the next week. St. Patrick's Athletic are in action against Dundalk at Richmond Park. Drogheda United will look to continue their run of form from this evening as they host Bohemians at Head in the Game Park. And Finn Harps take on Derry City next Friday at 8 o'clock. Interesting to see if Derry's game and, of course, Sligo and UCD's game on Saturday doesn't go ahead, as Shamrock Rovers' game has been postponed against Shelbourne as well. Interesting to see over the coming days if anything comes out about that. But for now, they're both taking place next week. In the first division, Cork City take on Galway United. It's a bumper top of the table fixture there down at Turner's Cross. Cove Ramblers entertain Waterford in a Munster derby down at St. Coleman's Park. Bray Wanderers will take on Treaty United at the Carlisle grounds, while on Saturday, Longford Town look to build on tonight's result as they host Athlone Town at Bishopsgate at 7:30 on Saturday. And next, we have the Women's National League Cup fixtures as well tomorrow. No league games, but they kick off their first round cup action. One of the games, Sligo Rovers and Douglas Hall, will not go ahead as Douglas Hall are unable to fulfill the fixture. So starting off on the day's results, DLR Waves will take on Treaty United at 4 o'clock. Peamount United entertain Finglas United, non-league Finglas, of course, at 5 o'clock, while Bohemians take on Galway Women's FC at 6 p.m. Then on Sunday, Whitehall Rangers will entertain Athlone Town, and Cork City take on Letterkenny's Bonagee United. That concludes all of our action, of course, from this evening. All our reports will be available on the Finalwhistle.ie website, and we'll be back tomorrow for plenty more action from the Women's National League. And you can join us next week for more coverage of the Premier and First Divisions. Thank you all for joining us on this evening's program. Thank you, of course, and we'll be chatting again next time. But until then, have a lovely rest of your week, and we'll chat to you then. Goodbye.